I think I would be in the wrong if I didn't just open up and ask you about passing and what happened with the passing game.
There'd be a lot to unpack there. There's a lot we don't know, and I've always been one to admit when there's things that you don't know. We're not through the process during the week, so we don't specifically know how things are coached and how he's asked to work through the process. The one thing I will say is this. There's not one offensive coordinator in the NFL that does not want big plays in the passing game. So when you do hear people say things like, well, this is the way they want to play, so Jalen's just doing what they want. That's true to some extent, but there's no coach that goes into a game that says, we don't want any big plays. Now, they win a lot of games. Jalen Hurts, as the starting quarterback at Eagles, has won a lot of games. It's certainly hard to argue with the result. And as I said, we don't know the process. Um, I normally hear from someone in the building first thing on Monday morning, and what I heard this week was not positive at all. So, again, I'm not going to read what he said. I don't think that's the appropriate thing to do. But um, I think that they feel within the building that in other words, that they have to sort of play to his limitations.
There seemed to be a different kind of tone to the defense. Does Reed Blankenship really make that much of a difference?
You could argue that Reed Blankenship is the tempo setter for the entire defense. There are many in the building who feel that way. So Reed Blankenship does make a big difference. But he was a 4 or 5 year starter in college. He just knows how to play. He's physical. He sees things. He plays really well downhill in the run game, really well downhill in the run game.
Can you is there something like that I'm missing with kind of second level blitzing? It just kind of seems like anytime I'm watching football, that kind of never works.
It does work with some teams, but the point is when you blitz from the second level, it's not often a matter of having that player be the guy that's going to get in clean or necessarily get the perfect matchup. Sometimes it's done in order to create a one-on-one matchup for someone else. Okay, a matchup that you feel good about, you want the one-on-one matchup. So let's say that you have a defensive end against a tackle, an offensive tackle, or a defensive tackle against a guard. You want to make sure that the offense can't help that particular matchup. So you can blitz to create one-on-ones that favor you. So it's not necessarily about the linebacker. I assume that's what you're speaking about, second level linebacker being the guy that makes the blitz. Then there's certain things you can do in coverage that you can only do when that happens. In fact, I've had that conversation with Steve Spagnuolo because now your coverage becomes not traditional. Like a lot of times it might look like it's quarters, but it's not really quarters. It's a specific blitz coverage, So there's so much detail, Eric, that goes into this stuff. But just to put a bow on your final point, when you blitz from the second level, it's not necessarily meant for the linebacker to get the sack.
Have you noticed a trend of opposing defenses when they come out against the Eagles for their first drive, doing uncharacteristic things for them? Because it seems like every week, you're hearing players say, they came out doing things we never seen them do on tape.
Sometimes a defense could do something they've done, but they do it with a different person. And you could be saying that, oh, well, that's different. But in terms of concepts that defenses do, I don't think that's really the case. It's certainly not at this time of year. You're not seeing something that you've never seen them do before. So, again, in press conferences and interviews, I usually don't put a lot of stock in that only because it's, what are they going to say? They're not going to, start talking game plans. So, I would say that based on my reading of it, and again, without knowing every single detail of how things are coached and what players are asked to do, I would say that that's not the case.
Were the Panthers doing anything different to neutralize the defense where they didn't get as good a rush or there were gaps in the coverages?
I think everybody's been a little spoiled. I mean, Young didn't even throw for 200 yards. And they were actually pretty good on third down, and they were 7 for 16, which isn't bad. But Hubbard had 26 for 82, which is not a very good yards per carry. Now they did control the ball for 33 minutes, but some of that came at the at the end of the game in the fourth quarter, when they were trying to get back in. You know, I don't think, in watching that tape, I didn't feel like that the Eagle defense was being handled in any way. Um, you know, I I think we've become a little spoiled because they're really good.
The Eagles have an elite run game, and I find it hard to understand like why they can't have a passing game built off that.
Then you get into comfort because what you're basically asking, and it's something I'm an absolute big believer in, which they don't do much at all. And again, it's not a knock on Kellen Moore, obviously, because he knows more than I do and he knows his players more than I do. But I'm a big believer in the play action pass game with the quarterback under center because I think that that really impacts the defense, particularly at the second level, far more than shotgun play action for the simple reason, one reason anyway, is it takes longer to get to the mesh point in the run action, and therefore second level players have to wait longer to see whether it's a run or a pass. But you're asking your quarterback to turn his back to the defense. That's a learned trait, and not every quarterback is comfortable with that. My guess is, because we haven't seen much of that in Jalen Hurts' career, this is only a guess, is that he's not comfortable with it. But I think that the teams that are really good with play action put the quarterback under center. The Lions, the Rams, the Vikings. These are teams that are really, really good with play action, and the quarterback's under center because it makes it harder for the defense. It makes it tougher for the pass rush as well, even the first level, because if you have outside zone run action as part of your repertoire with the quarterback under center, keep in mind the D line's going to move laterally before they start moving vertically. So they don't do that. Now, there has to be a reason for it. And as I said, maybe it's Jalen's not comfortable turning his back. Not every quarterback is. Most quarterbacks today growing up, starting when they're 10 years old with all these 7-and-7 camps, they're in the gun from the time they pick up a football. So they have no experience playing under center, turning their back to the defense, and that is a learned trait.
How much of Bond doing so well has to do with him taking advantage of the D line doing well? Or is Bond just kind of really starting to shine as a linebacker?
That's always hard to know exactly what you're asking, but I would say Bond has played at a high level in the run game. He did it again this week. It's key and diagnose. He's got a really quick trigger. He's got short area lateral burst and quickness. He plays off contact. He shoots gaps. I think he's playing as well as any stacked linebacker in the league right now. How he's taught Kyle in response to what's in front of him, that I couldn't answer. But, so I don't know, different coaches, because I've been in camps, have different beliefs about how second level players react to what their defensive linemen are doing. Some like Rex Ryan, he's the kind of guy that, hey, just see what your guys do in front of you and go. I mean, he's a believer. It's almost like there's no real concept to it. It's just, hey, when you see it, go. Other guys are real specific about how they coach it, about steps and what you do. And, so I don't know exactly how he's taught, but I do know he's playing at a really, really high level and he shows up on film every single week.
Question is, have you ever seen a player who struggled with the limitations that Hurts has had get past it?
I think you can get better at it. Will he ever be, Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff or, making those kinds of throws? No, he won't be. But can you get better? Yeah. He's an NFL quarterback. He's going to make some of them. I mean, it's, these are NFL players. He's going to make some of them. The question is, can he do that on a consistent basis where those kinds of route concepts and combinations can be a staple of your offense? Right now, they're not going to be because he doesn't do it consistently enough for that to be something you can hang your hat on a weekly basis. But like I said, I think you can get a little better. I don't think he'll ever be great at that particular part of it. So then, you still have to try to create it to some degree because you can't ultimately limit your offense to the point where you can't work between the numbers. You just can't, not in the NFL. So you have to figure out ways to do that with certain concepts. Obviously, we know that he throws the ball well outside the numbers. Probably his best throw this week was outside I'm talking about from the pocket. He obviously had that second reaction movement throw to Smith on the touchdown drive where he ran out to his left. But he had a throw later in the game. I think it was 15 yards to Brown outside the numbers that he threw with good timing, good anticipation. That's where he's comfortable throwing the ball. The thing that, again, and I'm not trying to cop out, but I just don't know the answer, is you'd have to be with him every day. I don't know how he sees the game and what he sees and what he doesn't see.
Did you see more blitzing, or was I not catching it? I thought I seen a lot more blitzing in the second half than the first.
I mean, technically they did. I mean, they rushed 5 or more, I believe, on 11 of his dropbacks. And in the second half, they did on 7. So they did 4 times in the first half and 7 in the second half. He didn't have very good success when they blitzed overall. When they rushed 5 or more, he was only 3 for 9 for 39 yards, and they got a sack. So, and Young, don't forget, Young is short. He doesn't see things real well. Just the general nature in which he plays is a little frenetic too. It's just, it's probably the way he's played his whole career, and he's obviously had great success until he got to the league.
What do you got on the matchup show this week? Anything?
Well, actually, we're going to do 2 full segment games this week. We're going to do the Eagles-Steelers game and the Bills-Lions game will be full segment games. Just one final comment.
Sure.
Obviously I watch, as much as I can every single week, and, I've seen pretty much every team, but I just, as far as the Eagles pass game, which I know is on everybody's mind, it's hard to know, but there's clearly no continuity and no rhythm to their pass game. When I watch other teams, you can just see it. You see guys drop back, they deliver the ball. There's a rhythm, there's a continuity. I wish I knew the answer. Jalen Hurts has had a lot of success in this league. It's not, about, oh, Jalen Hurts stinks. It's easy for people to say that. He's had a lot of success in the league. Something is going on that we don't know about, and I don't know what that is. Has he reached a point where this is who he is? We can't answer that. If this is who he is, the Eagles are going to be could be in for a tough time. I mean, you never know, because they're winning games playing the way they are. The question is, can they continue to do that?